within one game of each other. So boy, it's gonna be very interesting to watch that going on. There's other groups too. I think Group G, we've got a couple of people. Andy and Blaine both with a couple of losses now. That group's tightened up a little bit. Group H, looking like we've got 3 people within one game of each other for all 3 of the spots, and we got some other people that have more losses than wins, but they haven't played a lot, and we're gonna get going here between these two.
We see a little bit of an immediate split in strategies. Asazas is starting at the house. He's probably going to try to get a tree pole off the statue outside Link's house.
And we've got all 3 pendants here in Dark World. So we've got green pendant at Turtle Rock, blue pendant at Ice Palace, and reds at Misery Mire. That means we have both of our red crystals, and a third crystal will be in the what would normally be the light world, but is actually going to be the kind of the dark world in this case because we're playing inverted mode.
Yep, and here Asazas gets his kill. This statue right here is a tree pole. You just have to be very careful because things will kill you quick, and it's just hearts today. That's unfortunate.
Absolutely. Samantha, let's talk a little bit about inverted mode and some of the changes here, because this is probably, it's different for runners who have, not runners, well, it is different for runners that haven't seen this before, but viewers that haven't seen this before, yeah, they're probably wondering, how did we start in Dark World, and where's the Light World at, and why is Link not a bunny?
It's true. So the inverted was introduced in this version of the randomizer. Nice, 300 rupees and a hookshot right off the bat. But yeah, inverted was introduced in V30 here, and it is pretty much on the concept of what if the game worked backwards. So you start out in the Dark World, you use the warps as well as your Moon Pearl to get by in the Light World, and there are a few various changes to dungeons and a couple of overworld things to make that viable.
Absolutely. Of course, we've got some situations like, for example, Turtle Rock, where you would have to go to the Dark World from the Light World. Normally, we can't do that in inverted mode, so instead we get to climb up the back of Turtle Rock Turtle's tail there to get through. A couple of other locations that are normally mirror locked have new openings for us, like the Bombos Tablet, Graveyard Ledge, the South of the Grove Cave. These are all things that have been modified in this game mode to be accessible from the get-go without having to need the mirror, because we're going to be starting in the Dark World anyways.
Yep, and the mirror has been made to go from the Light World to the Dark World in this mode, which has really made it one of the most overpowered items in the game, so to speak. It is extraordinarily useful compared to normal modes. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the Titan's Mitts. They're only really valuable for King's Tomb.
Absolutely. And one of the things to keep in mind, too, is that we're doing the sword list between Zazaz and prieR, so not going to be getting any swords this run. We're going to have to see what items show up for our runners, and we've already got the hook shot for prieR. It's going to be very helpful. I believe Zazaz probably about to pick that up here as well. I think it was in Skullwoods, if I remember right.
Yep, and we're seeing kind of the point of the Skullwood start that prieR went for, which is to grab those bombs under the pots in the big chest drop down. And that gives you a couple of bombs early. Bombs are harder to come by immediately in inverted than in regular modes, but they open up Hype Cave, which is actually usually pretty hype in inverted.
Indeed. Zazaz picking up the hook shot in the Gibdo room there, and a key.
Okay, we get a book. The book is required if desert is a crystal. You can't get into desert any way but the book in inverted.
And that's certainly the case this time. We got the mushroom as well showing up in Hype Cave. So a couple of important items to get. We got a really quick check here maybe of the potion shop. Not right now, but in the future, we could see a fake powder as well.
Yep, and they also they got the 6 bombs out of Hype Cave, which is actually kind of nice if you only grab 2. Some people will take a couple of deaths and buy those bomb pots to get more bombs quicker. In this case, not doing that paid out with 6, which is enough to get you going.
And I see our chat is debating about the Hype Cave rating and get 300, nice 300 rupees there from Stumpy. But I would say it's at least a 5 because of the fact that you get the book from the NPC. And that's required item because we need to be able to go into Desert Palace. So definitely getting a early access item is going to be very important. Not have to worry about where the book's at.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. Since we do have all 3 Dark World pendants, I am praying for the dream. Moon Pearl on pedestal.
Oh, that could be, and not only Moon Pearl, but this would be a Moon Pearl that requires you to get a bunch of items before you can even do it, because you need items to go into Turtle Rock still, you need items to go into Misery Mire, and you need items to go into Ice Palace. So it's the 3 pendant dungeons are 3 of the most progression locked dungeons in the game, because there's just so much that you need to get into Ice Palace and Mire, and especially Turtle Rock.
If it is stupid unlikely for it to happen in this particular layout, but I want to see that happen once in my life. It's nearly impossible in normal modes, but inverted a little bit more likely.
I was going to say, Mentos, there is nothing that is impossible in the randomizer seat. It's just less likely.
There are some things that are impossible.
Well, yeah, there's something, but those have been programmed out specifically because they would cause locks and glitches. And there's the flippers, so that's actually a good sign for our runners. That's one of the items that they need to get into Ice Palace.
Yep, that'll actually get them in the front door and inverted, since the front wall of Ice Palace has just been kind of, broken open for convenience. It also gets them to East Dark World, which is a nice touch.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought you were all done for a moment there, but actually also 1 item away now, just the mirror missing, and we can go into Swamp Palace. Oh, we do need something else to deal with. I think we would need the hammer to deal with our guy as well. That's the only other thing that we would need. So hammer and mirror can get us into Swamp Palace now with the hook shot and the flippers also there. And that's a good dungeon to maybe dive because of the chest item density there.
Very true. And if there's one thing that Inverted has done, it has made Dark World a little bit better of a place to be. If they didn't make any changes, it would be a very, very small Sphere 1. You would get kind of the same stuff every time. But with the changes they made, there are some pretty cruel things this can force you to do.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll kind of find out what the seed wants us to do here as we progress through the dungeon. And of course, looking like the front half of these towns is not going to be much of anything, unfortunately. We got that big key, but that's about it.
Yep, and asazas did dip out after the first 4 chests. Obviously, he has no way to kill Blind right now, so he didn't really want to go leave behind Blind and the big chest, but that's not to say progression can't be down there.
Very quick question from Caravan Ride in chat asking, are these players playing with keyboards or controllers? Chat's already mentioned it, and I'll mention it as well, just for the podcast. Most players, probably about like 98-99% of them, play with controllers of some sort, and there are players that play with keyboards, including our tracker Link Force plays with a keyboard. So you can play with the keyboard. You can play with the controller. It's just up to you. Most people use controller just because that was what they played with back in the day.
And some things are a little bit easier on controller, like for example, the biggest meme skill in the game of hovering is nearly impossible on keyboard, but very, very doable on controller. Whereas something like item dashing that's much more valuable is actually a little bit easier on keyboard. So you get some ups and downs with your choices on that front.
And yeah, some of us are even trying to learn how to possibly configure our racing wheels to play this game. So maybe someday we'll figure out a way to do it that doesn't make it like impossible. But yeah, you can play with pretty much any controller as long as it has the inputs you need for it.
It does sound like a pretty entertaining way to play, I'm not gonna lie. And we find the hammer on the pyramid. That is a very nice pickup.
Absolutely. As finding the hammer, that's going to be very important, as that will get a little bit further into Swamp Palace. And I almost forgot that Swamp Palace was hammer locked anyway, so you would need the hammer regardless of whether or not you had swords or not to be able to get further into Swamp Palace. So really at this point all we're looking for is the mirror to do the lake drain.
Well, I did forget one thing when we were talking about that earlier, and that's that you do need to get light world access to be able to actually get into Swamp Palace.
Right.
So they'll need some combination of stuff to get into the light world, whether that's kill an Aghanim or just a glove and a moon pearl from here.
That's true too. So if it is moon pearl pedestal locked, aka as you say the dream, then we're going to be waiting to go to Swamp Palace for a while.
It's worth a note that prieR went a little bit further into Thieves Town than Asazas did. He went up to the attic chest, but that was where he dipped out of there. He's now going over here, gonna get the hammer. It could have been real bad for him if he had taken the time going all the way down to the basement and then not been able to kill blind, not been able to get the big chest.
Right, so this will save him a little bit of time. Did prieR, I missed it, did prieR check the hint that was up there as well?
He did not. He actually ran right by the hint.
Okay, that's one of the things too that we can talk about here. For those who haven't watched anything in V30 yet, the telepathic tiles in all versions of the game have hints now. They have hints to item locations. There's a group that are joke hints, and they'll show up in green and have the link face with them. Obviously, those are just there for humor. Most of it is Chris's humor, so your giggles may vary, but it is pretty funny. There's a big pool of hints that are kind of like something, you know, an NPC has such and such, and then there's also hints that are for, I believe, certain locations are guaranteed to have a hint in the game, simply because I forget what the reasoning behind that was, but I believe things like Swamp Key Big Palace is the western wing of Swamp Palace, so that's one of them, actually, one of the specific location specific hints at telling you what's on the left side of Swamp Palace. And there's also one example, for example, with the lunchbox. I'll tell you what is inside of the purple chest.
But it's worth noting that on hard difficulty, there are actually more joke hints than there are on normal. So given this is a hard difficulty seed, they won't get as much value out of it. And wow, that ledge was just rude. You're supposed to jump off that ledge, but it just let us as just kind of casually walk into the hole. It's okay.
Indeed. And we're not going to see Asazas do the bomb jump here.
Oh boy, we found the single arrow. Now, the single arrow is a joke, it's useless, but at the same time, as it is the only single arrow in the pool, on those hints we were just talking about, some of them will just tell you a unique item is blank, and the single arrow can be that unique item. So finding that early means you don't have to go look for it.
Oh, Megan's telling us that the difficulty does not change the hints, so that's another important thing to keep in mind. And Dr. Luau asking...
Sorry, I was just going to say, noted on that during the beta of V30, it was set up that way, so I kind of didn't know that it reverted to go differently.
That's no problem. But now we know, and Dr. Luau was asking, what are the modifiers for this run? So from left to right up there at the top, we've got Ganon for having to defeat Ganon. The bunny link sprite is the inverted mode sprite, which we've talked a little bit about before. No sword sign is swordless. That one's pretty self-explanatory. And H is for hard mode. So everything is in the hardest possible mode. I think that means if there's fewer health, there's There would normally be fewer sword upgrades, but we're doing a swordless, so that doesn't even play into effect here. There's only one mail/armor upgrade, and I believe there's only one shield upgrade as well, if I remember right.
You can get up to the fire shield
Right.
and 14 hearts. And then also boomerangs don't stun. The boomerangs are just pretty much useless.
I think a lot of runners would say that are useless just in normal mode. But that is a verbal fight for another day with within our communities. The usefulness of the Zazaz taking a death there. Unfortunately, I don't think that was obviously that was intentional. I think I was trying to get to the back there. But yeah, a little bit of a good old-fashioned debate within the community is always, you know, boomerangs, junk, or actually somewhat useful sometimes.
Also worth noting that Asazas decided to dip out of pod without touching the dark rooms. prieR did one of them, got $5 and a key, and just kind of decided to do the same. And Asazas taking another death in Thieves Town, which is not super uncommon. The enemies here all hit for at least 2 hearts of damage, and, well, actually for 2 hearts of damage, not at least. And you only have 3, so, you know, it's pretty easy to die.
And one of the things to keep in mind, too, is that I believe that like in all the other modes, that the values for damage in the Dark World does not change simply because you're early dark mode here, or in this case you start dark world. So that's a thing to keep in mind. It's going to be tougher in inverted, especially with so little health and, you know, green mail. It's going to be very, very tough go here, and things are just going to drop you very quickly if you're not careful.
And if you do look to run this mode and you're newer to the game, or you aren't trying to speedrun it, just have fun with it, they do actually give you 3 extra hearts on easy difficulty. So if you play easy, you start with 6 hearts, which is not far removed from where you would be on a normal, you know, vanilla playthrough. So it's a little bit more viable to be run around Dark World.
Indeed. And one of the things to keep in mind too with that front half of Thieves Town is that these Zazaks are a huge pain in the butt because they hide underneath those ledges and you can't see them until it's too late. The sprites are just narrow enough to be able to fit under there without being seen.
And we are coming up to some new information here on prieR's side. He's come back in. He's going to the basement now. Gonna go check the Maiden's chest. It will either be the small key, or the small key will be locked in the big chest and inaccessible. One of the two. We are coming up on the kind of go-to joke about inverted mode of always having to do 3 hard hammer blind, and it's looking like it might actually happen this time. There's a glove.
I'm certain our runners will be very thankful to find that glove. We've been a bit bottlenecked here looking for an item, and unfortunately we haven't found it yet.
Yeah, I mean, within logic, the glove really only gives you access to catfish, which isn't super great.
Oh, Zazaz forgetting doesn't have the key. In fact, I believe that we won't find the key because we haven't found it for the blind fight, and blind does not drop the key. Therefore, meaning that the key should be in the big chest.
With the technical addition of that attic chest that was just $5, and this item from blind being considered hammer locked by logic. This fight is always tense. No matter how good you are at this game, trying to fight blind with 3 hearts and a hammer is terrifying.
Absolutely, because each of those little fireballs will hit you for 1, and the laser will hit you for 2. So you have to dodge. If you're
Oh.
You have to dodge everything. And unfortunately, the problem here being, as prieR makes their way back to the fight, and Azaza's already falling to blind. The RNG for the blind fight is going to reset here for both runners. So they're both going to have to go into a fight, not quite knowing what to expect. In fact, Azazas is going to simply choose to opt out. And prieR is going to go back and try it again, I think.
Yeah, the bonus of the blind fight is the first time you started, it's always the exact same if you do the same stuff. Now, with a hammer, it's a lot harder to get the script, so to speak, that we use with the sword. You know, you got a different script you can make happen, but a couple of frames of difference in when you hit is enough to throw it off. So it's a lot harder on the refight in general, but it's maybe less of an impact when you're doing it with something other than a sword.
Yeah, and one of the other things to keep in mind too is that if you run into one of the blind heads, also too hard to damage. As prieR just unfortunately found out. Yeah, that was not looking good. I was just kind of watching. There were 3 fireballs all descending on the same spot at the exact same time. He was not getting out of that one. He was essentially pinned against the wall.
Yeah, he was through 8 of the 9 hits needed to kill blind there too, which just makes it hurt even more taking the death.
Meanwhile, Zazaz is going to be going and doing catfish here. So we'll get to see if catfish has anything important. Yes! Absolutely!
That is very important. The Moon Pearl now gives us full Light World access. So this is going to be a nice perk for him getting that sooner, because he can go right down here, hop into the Light World, and once you get to the Light World, all that stuff that's Sphere 1 in normal modes is now your later spheres in this mode. So you get to run around and check a whole bunch of item locations.
Yep. I'm prieR back down to 1 heart here, very carefully trying to dance between the fireballs. Oh!
No.
Oh. That's unfortunate. Walked right into that one. Just barely clipped it. As we did get a map check from Azazaz, and we have 5-6 crystals at Eastern and Desert.
Desert, of which they can almost clear. They need a fire source to clear that. Eastern will be a little bit longer of a wait because they need to find the bow.
They might also need boots if it's boots locked key.
Very true. Very true. And we're seeing one of these topography changes here. K45, you can now just walk right into it. That's the mirror.
That's important.
So as mentioned earlier, the mirror now takes you from the light world to the dark world, and it's arguably one of the best items in inverted mode. So getting that nice and early is going to let him do a lot of very clean routing through the world.
prieR's not giving up yet. Still going after that blonde, maybe wanting to pick up whatever items on blind and hoping it will be useful. As well as getting the crystal, so...
It's also very possible that maybe he's not thinking glove open catfish, or just thinking catfish probably doesn't have anything, it's more worth my time over here.
Right. Those are both possibilities, and that can happen simply because of the fact that that's normally the case. Is you're not getting catfish right away. You're kind of usually putting that off if visiting catfish at all, unless necessary. And there's a bottle at the maze race, so Azaz will be taking that and going to do Sick Kid as well as the Kakariko checks.
He's likely going to mirror over and grab the blacksmith on his way up to Kakariko as well, so he can turn that in right away.
prieR's having a good fight now. He's already onto third phase blind. Just got to dodge those fireballs. He's getting it this time, I think. Oh. Not quite. Come on. Oh, no. So, Mentos, really, the question, I think, is... If you're prieR, when do you keep doing it, or do you decide at some point just to cut your losses and go do something else? You're right that he may not remember or realize about the catfish being open right now, and you know it's a situation that maybe too, if if prieR gets this done now and I don't find something else like Cane of Burna or Cane of Samaria, that really helps. Okay, there's the Cane of Burna. Well,
now worth noting, Cane of Burna blind fight in hard mode is awful because it doesn't give you an invincibility, it just does damage.
Right.
So it's a very tough fight. That said, on prieR's side, if he isn't thinking that Catfish is open, he's just going to keep going at this, because this is the only spot left in logic other than Catfish. So if he's not thinking, hey, Catfish opened up, as far as he's concerned, this is the only spot that could have his progression. So he might just be thinking, I have to do this. There's no other option.
Right, and I was going to say, if we don't find the Cane of Samaria, or either of the Canes, or really, in this case, Cane of Samaria probably would be the optimal find, simply to deal with the blind fight. You know, we're going to be having a long fight, and maybe Azazas eventually has to go back and do it with Hammer as well, and has the exact same kind of struggle. So prieR could be thinking, okay, I'm just going to get this done now and not worry about having to do this later. You know, 40 minutes from now, I still have to go fight blind with a hammer for progression or whatever.
Yeah, I do think it's getting to the point where it would be worth sequence breaking up to Death Mountain and trying to see if maybe there's a little bit of health up there. He keeps getting down to the last hits of the fight and ending up losing it. Oh, maybe.
Got it.
Yes!
You got it now. Nicely done. This is going to be, what's it going to be? 10 arrows. With the crystal, more importantly. Well, more importantly, Mentos, the crystal and the peace of mind. You don't have to go back and do this again. You're done. You're clear of this dungeon.
It's very true. And hey, Bottle Vendor had what would be the first sword of the seed. He got a green 20 rupee there, which is significant of what a sword would be. So, you know, they would have Fighter Sword by now.
Absolutely. That's one of the things to keep in mind, too, is that the easiest way to do the blind fight is with the sword. And we're playing swordless, therefore, we do not get to do that.
Other than, and really, Kakariko so far has been pretty much a bunch of junk.
Oh, and Sick Kid had a green 20 as well, so there were two swords, in theory, in a regular seed, sitting at Kakariko. So, boy, that would have been nice to have. But, of course, we're doing this swordless, and prieR is now going up to Catfish. So, maybe it was always on his mind. The thought was just, you know, let's get this done, get it over with, because it might not get any easier.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it was more of a way to just fight through it and say, I got a 50-50, either of these things are going to cost me time. Let's just get it done. So, prieR about to get his Moon Pearl as Asazas comes up here to the Lost Woods. 2 items here. And prieR taking a little bit different route to the Dark World. He's going to head into the portal north of the Village of Outcasts. He'll use that to get right to Kakariko. The downside for him is he's going to get that mirror after Kakariko instead of beforehand, which is not really ideal in this situation.
Mushroom Spout only having 10 arrows as well, so that's going to be not really worth going to pick up.
Yep, and practically the Sphere 1 locations that usually have all that progression in normal modes usually aren't quite as good in Inverted as they are in those other modes. Instead, we are making our way down from the Lumberjack Cave, which was a big 20, not really worthwhile. And he is going to head over to Sanctuary and maybe the Back of Escape. I know some people tend to route Back of Escape into Sanctuary.
So yeah, one of the things to keep in mind here is, hey, there's a ladder for Graveyard Ledge. Just pocket change prior doing the check there of our pedestal. So unfortunately, well, we knew that Moon Pearl wasn't going to be there, but unfortunately everything on Pedstead and the boots are in Graveyard Ledge.
Now that's just beautiful. Sub 30-minute boots, you will not hear many people complain about that.
Just a very quick question here from chat. From Gilgatex asking, how does the mode veto rule work for the tournament? Well, the way it works is each runner gets to pick one seed of their choosing, kind of with their various game mode options. So the higher seed between the two, everybody plays 3 matches against each other. So the higher seed between the two gets first pick, the lower seed gets second pick, and then the third game is determined by our friendly bot at random. And each runner gets to veto a game mode. There's a little bit of strategy, I believe, with that as well. If I remember, it was explained to me that the higher seeded runner gets to pick, and we're getting some checks here. Nothing in the back of escape, but the higher seeded runner gets to choose when they want to do their veto. So they can go veto second if they want to. Now the catch for that is, you know, if the bot that gives you something you don't want, but your opponent does, your opponent can just be like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and not veto this. And you might end up having to play something, or you might veto something and then end up in a situation that's even worse than what you wanted.
Well, the vetoes happen before the bot does anything, so you can't really make that kind of a play, but yeah, you could definitely, as the higher seed, say, hey, you veto first, you know, let them knock something out, and then you can try to play to an advantage there.
And JP also mentioning that you have to veto before the bot rolls, so that's another bit of strategy, yeah.
Yeah, and worth a note on this particular matchup, prieR was the higher seed. He vetoed retro mode, which, to be honest, is probably a matter of most people haven't really wanted to play much retro. It never really caught on after it came out on a wide scale, and so it's been kind of the less played version mode. So people are less experienced in a tournament setting. They don't want to deal with something they're not as experienced in. So that's probably why he vetoed that. Asazas vetoed Randomizer, which, you know, is pretty much chaos mode.
And of course, by choosing that, you limit the number of options that you have available, and so the game basically pulls from the rest of the pool to determine what you're going to play. In this case, it decided to be very mean.
Definitely not the meanest I've seen the bot roll, but it's not very friendly. So it is worth noting that with prieR's routing, he's likely to continue south from Kakariko, so he'll get his mirror, but it could be a while before he gets back up to that Graveyard Ledge where the boots are hiding, just based on the way he entered the light world. Also worth noting as a quick response to chat, one of the reasons that Retro didn't really catch on was that it had a lot of crash errors on SD to SNES. So people who were playing on hardware back in V29 couldn't reliably play it without a risk of crashing. So it kind of lost a wide chunk of the community because of that. And so when it was newest and there was the most, you know, hey, look at this new thing, it wasn't super friendly to play if you were on hardware, and with that big chunk of the community out, it kind of never caught on after it was fixed in V30.
Indeed. I think chat may have also saw that there was another green 20 that just popped up, so that would have been a third sword.
It's always so nice of the randomizer when you're doing swordless to just throw all the swords at you early. Like, hey, look what you could have had.
Getting a little dip here. So Lake Hilly Island. There's the Candace Samari. Oh, yeah. Go back and get that as. That's very important. Showing up on Lake Hilly Island, another one of the locations that have been changed because it's a mirror locked location. You can now access it via ladder and dock. But that's a very nice find. That will help out with the redip later for Azaz back into Thieves Town to finish up that blind fight, making it a little less tough to deal with.
Yep. Now, practically speaking, there's a chance that Kain and Samaria could not even be required, with T-Rock and Meyer as pendants. You know, that blocks off the Vitreous item, and 4 locations in T-Rock you can't get to without the Kain. That would be Trinex, as well as the usual first chest people get, and the 2 Fire Rod lock chests are all locked by Kain. Everything else in Inverted is open without it, so there's a decent chance it might not even be required, but you want to have it.
Canterburna for prieR now, of course, going to turn the, or to take the, I almost say turn the blacksmith in, take him home. It's not an item.
And the first look at Ice Rod Cave, which is 5 rupees.
So one of the things we're getting to see here, prieR's got the purple chest, so it looks like we're going to see a walk all the way down to Swamp Palace, maybe?
He's probably definitely going to turn that in. Then it'll be a question of where he goes from there. It'll probably be either South Shore or down to the desert area, maybe even mirror over into the Misery Mire area and see what's going on in there.
So yeah, 36 minutes in, we've only seen 1 dungeon completed, Thieves Town, and it was only by 1 runner. prieR kind of toughing it out to get Thieves Town done with just the hammer. We did see a dip into Skull Woods as well as the other S dungeon. But other than that, we really haven't seen a lot. We did see Pod, so you know, very light on the dungeon dips at this point. Seeing a lot more overworld checks in this seat so far.
Yeah, but I'd say that's pretty common in Inverted. The early part of the game, you don't have access to too many dungeons, but then as the game goes on later, you get the whole light world overworld open, and ooh, a flute.
Very handy flute there, and prieR meanwhile going to check Bomba's tablet here in the desert. There's the sword. I think that's the one that we saw before. Yeah, we got the flute. That's a nice find for Zaz. Really doing a good job of checking some of these locations and getting to them first.
Yep, and as of this version at least, you still need to go to the light world to activate the flute, but then it works in the dark world. Now, I know there has been talk of later making it so you can activate the flute in the dark world, but that's kind of a maybe in a future version thing, not really a thing you can do right now.
Right, and Link is actually our wonderful tracker is saying that it was the 4th sword upgrade that showed up, or what would have been a 4th sword upgrade that showed up at Bomba's tablet. So we know where all the sword upgrades would be in a normal seed, but Swordless is like, you don't get to play those.
Now prieR continuing over here, he's probably going to dip into desert, maybe mirror over and check Mire and the Mire Shed. I did not catch what was on that ledge. It was blue, it looked like a 5 rupee, but I'm not.
Yeah, it was 5 rupee.
Now, unfortunate for prieR here is he didn't go up north after Kakariko, so he doesn't have the boots yet. So if this dungeon is boots locked, he's going to have to come back later.
Yeah, that's the thing that we'll find out in just a moment here. As prieR goes in and does first the chest in the room with the Igors, and that's just the compass.
Yep, so we are 100% boots locked in desert.
Absolutely, I was going to say that would certainly mean, yep, the small key's there, but we do have a hint. The unique item is near Haunted Grove. Ooh, maybe that it sends prieR out to Haunted Grove to go check Graveyard Ledge. Not quite yet, but
The Haunted Grove was K45. That was the mirror was hinting at.
Well, that could be the case too. We could see a check of that in just a moment.
Looks he's heading back to the light world. He might decide to make that swamp dive now.
Yeah, I got my haunted locations mixed up there for a moment because, as Link Force is pointing out in chat, I do remember now that Zaz picking up the extra heart. So 5 hearts, that'll be helpful. But above the pose is a Graveyard Ledge hint, so we will probably see that at some point here, I'm sure.
Yep, and I do like that idea from asazas to actually go pick up that heart. Usually you find a heart container on the library shelf, you're just going to ignore it, even in hard mode. But when you're 40 minutes into a seed and you're still at 4 hearts, you're like, no, give me that.
You just have the blue mail though, so that will help out a little bit. But still, it's hard mode. Things are going to hit like a truck. You may as well go ahead and do that. And prieR making the dive into Swamp Palace now. We know where the big key is, and we know there's money also on the left side, so it'll be interesting to see if he goes after that big key knowing it's there, perhaps.
Yeah, I'd say chances are you probably, if you find both the map and compass, you might consider it, but if you don't find either of them, you just keep going straight to the back until you do.
Yep. I can see that play certainly being possible. Kind of process of elimination.
I am a little bit surprised they didn't take the time to check the Meyer shed while he was over by Desert, but turns out asazas isn't even going to go check Agina and Checkerboard Cave. He's just coming over here to do Swamp as well. Just looking at these two's inventory, though, this is like a tale of 2 different seeds. You got asazas sitting with blue mail. He's got the Cane of Samaria for a little bit easier weapon. He's got the boots. He's got, you know, the what's the other thing I was just thinking of? I'm losing my mind. He has the flute for the easier movement. There we go. Whereas prieR has none of those things, just from a couple of routing decisions that played out very well for asazas that he didn't make.
Yep, and he's got blue mail as well, so that's a little bit more safety, plus the extra heart. So Zaz is doing pretty good on the items right now. There's the Titan's Mitt showing up in the southern loop chest there, I guess you could call it, in Swamp Palace.
The Titan's Mitts, useful for exactly one thing. In the normal modes, you find Titan's Mitts and they unlock a lot of stuff, and you're like, yay! In inverted, especially having the mirror already, all that opens up is King's Tomb. That is the only location those mitts matter for.
Right. But it could be anything in there, Mentos. It could be another key. No, it can't be key. It's key sanity. But yeah, King's Tomb is now going to be open for both of our runners, and there could be a important item hiding there. Could be something as trolly as, say, Ice Rod. You know, we're still looking for Fire Rod. We're still looking for bow. Lamp would be probably nice to find. Not necessarily, I guess, a requirement, but it would be very nice to find, considering that this is a swordless seed, so we won't be able to see them do the usual swordless dark room walking. You can just kind of be like, oh, hold your sword out and charge, and use the shine from the sword charge to kind of help you maneuver your way around the room a little bit.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, practically speaking, if they are willing and able to do the pod and eastern dark rooms without the lamp, all they need for go mode at this point is the fire rod, the bow, and the silver arrows. That's all they need to find.
Absolutely. We're seeing a little bit of a deviation here. So prieR is checking the 2 chests here. So you can get that big key. But Azaz saying, nope, I'm going to skip it and make the decision to go ahead and just go to the back, and if we need to go to the left for anything, we'll get it.
I want to say that prieR did not check the hint for the left side when he was in pod, since it was out of the way. So I think that was the difference between no hint and hint.
I'm guessing that's the case. But we did find a red rupee and a shield upgrade, so we know that there's the map. I believe this has to be the compass here. I don't think we've seen that. Yeah, there we go.
So in a quick response to chat here, yes, they absolutely do need the silvers for this. Swordless, you fight Ganon with the hammer, which is all well and good for phases 1 through 3. But if you get to phase 4 and you're trying to do the silverless strats that we do in normal modes, you know, instead of having a sword spin that's out for several frames, you've got a hammer hitbox that's out for very few. You have about a 1 frame window to actually get the hammer hit on the silverless hits, and you need 24 of those to get through a silverless hammer Ganon. So it is possible, theoretically. I've seen people do it before, but it takes 15 plus minutes and several blue potions and a whole lot of luck.
Well, I've seen people hover the gap for Turtle Rock as well, but yeah, that also takes a lot of skill and a lot of luck. So you can, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you can do it, but it's gonna look really cool when you do it. But it's probably, if you can find an easier way to do it, it's probably, you know, better to do it that way.
Yeah, and as Zero Rush said in chat, the hint from Ganon about the silver arrows, you're more likely to be able to get that hint, leave, go grab the silvers, come back and kill Ganon before you actually end up killing him with hammer and no silvers. Also, shoutouts to everyone's favorite boss, the menu boss.
Indeed. You can see our runners go ahead, and actually we're seeing prieR go ahead, do the double strat here on the R guy. Very nicely done, getting 2 for 1. It's a little bit faster, so oh, a little too close that time. Argus moved. I think he might have got one of them at least. How did he get both of them?
Looked like he only got one.
Okay.
I do have to say, this definitely saves more time doing the double on a menu like this than when you can just do something like press up then right, and hey, you're on hookshot, and then left and down, you're on hammer. This menu is a mess.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think he's switching now to single shots, so I think he knows that it's pretty close, pretty hard to get those our guy to show up here when it's down just 1 or 2 of them.
Yep, now phase 2 of Argus, much easier with the hammer, because you don't have to menu back and forth. But it's still a tiny little hitbox to try to hit Argus with, and his hitbox isn't always exactly what you'd expect. Now, asazas over here going to check desert. He's going to be able to do everything except the back of desert while he's here. He's going to be able to get that key off the torch, head over to the right side, get the big key over there. But we'll see if he decides to dip the mire area as well while he's here.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see where... And of course, the big 20 there in Checkerboard Cave. We missed that. prieR checked that, but we just didn't really get a quick enough look before he dipped back out. But yeah, Zaz will be able to do a good chunk of this. Still not going to be able to get to the back. We're missing that fire source. Actually, he's going to mire right now.
I like it. Didn't look for the fire source. Also, I believe that was Ether.
Absolutely was Ether. So we have access to get into Misery Mire. I don't think we can complete it yet. I don't know how much of a gamble Azaz wants to make doing Mire without the bow. So it's going to make the Vidi fight a lot more difficult. And second, without that lamp, those Misery Mire dark rooms are painfully difficult to do. You can do it. It's not impossible. It just takes a lot of time, and if you mess up, it's it's a very much a big time waster.
I'm also interested in the fact that he didn't bother dipping into the desert and clearing out the front. You got access to everything up there. You just can't do the boss. It's usually worth the time, but Death Mountain is pretty lucrative right now.
Oh, absolutely. Having the mitts, having the hook shot, the hammer. You can go ahead and do a whole lot, get a lot of checks in here. And we'll see. This is one of my favorite things, Mentos, when we go from the Dark World to the Light World. And if you haven't seen this yet, guys, watch the old man. Oh, he's going to take the old man. He's going to take the old man all the way up for a very long walk, in fact.
If he actually could have got this a little bit quicker if he had used hook speed while he was on one of the ladders. Or if he had grabbed a bush, you move a little bit quicker while carrying a bush. But while you can't dash with the old man, you still can get a speed boost from hook speed, which is a little bit quicker.
Okay, now we're gonna get to see the old man. Let's see what he does this time. Oh, he's gonna walk right in the side of the mountain. I always love that. Only had a single green rupee though. And now we're seeing the hook speed.
Yep, and we're probably going to see him just go straight into Spectacle Rock Cave for the item without checking it, because there's a hint tile back here, so a lot of people choose to do this now.
Yeah, it's one of the things with the hint tiles is we're seeing a little bit of change in routing, and this is one of the changes that we're seeing is people used to go through the front, see what the item was, and then dip out if it wasn't useful. Some caches in Kakariko well, but now we're seeing a lot of runners do the routing that we just saw Azaz do there, which is go jump down, get the item, check the hint, and then bomb jump across the gap.
Shout out to that bomb jump for the swag of carrying the bomb with him instead of setting it down after he lined up with the hole.
Yeah, it was really cool to see.
I was going to come over here, check Paradox Cave, and East Death Mountain is a mess and inverted. You've got Paradox Cave that takes you up, and then you've got the Spiral Cave that you have to jump down for, the Mimic Cave that you have to jump down for, and if you want to mirror into the later parts of T-Rock, you have to jump down and mirror in from the lower ledges. You have to climb the mountain so many times.
And we were talking about that lamp just a moment ago, and it shows up in Paradox Cave. So that answers that question. Not going to be a problem for Azaz to go ahead and go through a lot of those dark rooms now. And as well, just want to say thanks for the Twitch Prime subs from Baron Zen and Sora2K7. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
There's Paradox, some arrows, some money, a heart container, a blue potion which will heal half your magic and 7 hearts max, and some more junk. So not real great.
Oh, and Zaz doing the hover across the gap. Nice, nicely done. Getting the hover instead of doing the bomb jump there. A little bit of swag.
A man after my own heart. It's slightly slower, but it looks neater.
It does. He must have checked to see who was commentating this beforehand and thought, I'll do the hover. Ooh,
Gonna mirror over to Dark Death Mountain. Check out the stuff over here. T-Rock also requires ether. I'm actually surprised he checked that because there's no reason for him to ever open the front door of T-Rock.
No, maybe just a little bit of peace of mind kind of thing. The Super Bunny Cave just has a heart and some rupees in it.
Now we'll see Hookshot Cave, and then I'm guessing Asazas will head over to Tower of Hera, clear that out, and then come back across later.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good. There's a shovel. That's a pretty good guess there, Mentos, about the routing choice here. Yeah, Zaz has been just doing really good with routing decisions, with deciding where to go next. And it's paid off. There's the silvers, by the way, in Hookshot Cave. So
now we just need a bow and a fire rod.
Absolutely. Go on, try next win.
You're a cruel, cruel man. So prieR's activating his flute. He would really be well served to go up north and do the North Light World checks, because he's been missing the boots that asazas has had for like 25-30 minutes now.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of being able to check these locations that asazas has been able to do, just the speed difference in being able to move around the map definitely is advantageous to asazas at the moment.
Yeah, it's not as big a difference as it can feel when you don't have the boots, but it's big enough to be worth thinking about.
prieR, meanwhile, is going to be going over to Myershed and to check the medallion requirements. We'll find out that it's Ether. Moon Pearl is held by someone friendly, and we know that is Catfish. Also, that's a Light World hint for that. That seems kind of not useful.
It's very rude, I know that much. That said, hints are getting a major workover in V31, so we'll have to see if those kind of comical moments of, you know, hey, I already had to have that item to get here, ever still come up, or if they're kind of done away with entirely.
It's like Ganon's like, did you find the Moon Pearl on Catfish?
I mean, with enough minor glitches, you could get to Ganon without the Moon Pearl, and then just needed to kill him.
Some arrows are held by someone friendly as well. And
such
some bombs
valuable hints right now.
Indeed, and some bombs are held in that chest.
Coming up to everyone's favorite worm at the top of a tower. He just wants to give you hugs, and, you know, it just is unfortunate that when he gives you a hug, you often fall down and have to climb back up to see him again.
His arms are too short, unfortunately. And they're not really arms, they're more like legs.
There we go. You see, he gives him a hug and he just falls down. He's too powerful.
Yeah, this will be an interesting fight. Of course, we're going to use the hammer here, which has a tiny hitbox going into a tiny tail. And you've got the fight actually working pretty well there for his ass the second time around. Just getting some good lineup there from Moldorm. And small key.
I'm trying to remember if we got both items or not. I know we got the 3 bombs, but I think we got the map and compass from the other chest.
I believe so. I think that just means that the no, we got the big key was in the basement. So yeah, I'm just trying to remember. Did we get the? Yeah, I think it's got to be either the map or the compass that's in the basement. So.
So gets to avoid the coffee break for today. All to be fair, when that's required, like when the big key's down there, it's usually a nice little relief because you just get to, you know, go sit down for a couple minutes and not really worry about much of anything.
And prieR finding that lamp now. I like how as I've been commentating, the extent of the coffee break has simply been getting longer and longer. We've now progressed where it's like, you know, a couple minutes. It for those who have never seen it, it's like usual tile room, so it's like 30 seconds. But still, it's pretty nice. It gives you an opportunity to kind of relax, think a little bit, and catch up on, you know, where you're at, where you still have to go, kind of do a little bit of thinking while you're waiting for the tiles just to finish up.
Then prieR wrapping up Paradox Cave, about to do his bomb jump across. And asazas did not go to check Mimic Cave now. He is headed over to
Turtle
But
Rock?
well, why would you go in the front door? Don't do it, asazas. Go in Laser Bridge. It's quicker.
I was gonna say also skipping the biggest and most important item in the game, the bug nut. prieR's gonna go get it though.
Yeah, Bugnet is super valuable in Swordless for the fact of Aga 2 being a pain with hammer. So skipping it is kind of unusual for this mode.
Oh, actually, we did not get the second item. We know what it is now. It's the magic cape is in the basement.
I don't believe there was anything valuable on the bumper cave, and that's really all the cape is needed for.
Yeah,
Now,
the only other thing we would have needed it for would have been to get into the Aga 1 fight, but we didn't need it for that, obviously.
Yeah, and in inverted, there's not even the barrier there where you would need to worry about that, so even that one's not a big... I am very surprised, though, that asazas is gambling T-Rock like this. It's green pendant. You don't even have all that you need to get everything. You got at least one crystal you can full clear in the form of desert, and you can go back and clear out the boss of Thieves Town by now. It's a risky dip.
It is, yeah. And he's gonna go do the chain chomp room here. It can be very difficult. These guys hit for 4 damage no matter what mode, what you're wearing. They're just brutal. And of course finding the compass, it looks like, meaning, yep, time to get out. Can't go that way anymore.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the front door of T-Rock is that there's no guarantee you can get from the front to the back in inverted. But you can usually pretty much always get from Laser Bridge back to the front of the dungeon, regardless of key layout, unless you're really unlucky.
It looks like he's going to Laser Bridge now, so gonna take you up on your advice, Mentos, and get these all taken care of. It's gonna have to use the pixel dash to get by there. You just have to line it up perfectly to avoid lasers. Because we don't have anything that can reflect the lasers, obviously. Oh, gonna take a death, but we'll get some extra health and be able to pick up those last 2 chests, it looks like.
Now, he could use Cane of Brian to get past the lasers. It does work as normal anywhere it can be logically required, which includes Laser Bridge. But then you gotta deal with the lag and all that, when if you're good enough at Laser Skip, it's usually quicker to just do that.
Yeah, Laser Skip's certainly a lot easier to deal with.
Although Asaza is having a little bit of uncharacteristic trouble with the Laser Skip at the moment.
Yeah, just getting a little bit of a bounce there, unfortunately. I'm going to save and quit out. Ack is very much a traditionalist, saying that hints should only be allowed if you're okay with spending $5 a minute calling a 1-800 number.
Just like the good old days.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, now Asazaz is making the desert play, using the warp you usually use to get to Meyer for the exact opposite reason, and going to use the book to come in here and clear this out.
And prieR, having done some item counting, will know that there's an item here in the basement of Hera. Doesn't know it's the magic cape because the hint for that is in the front of Turtle Rock. So he's going to find that cape. Might not be exactly the hope, but not terrible. Not like it's a 5 rupee or something like that. Just hiding in the basement. You did all that for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and cape can be useful. In hard mode, it drains magic at double the normal rate, so it's, very costly. But especially on bosses like Vitreous or Ganon, where, one hit can deal a lot of damage to you, sometimes just being able to stand there and spam attacks while the cape's on for a couple moments is a pretty nice plus.
Or just having that ability to take a moment to kind of pause and get out of a dangerous situation as well is, you know, just always very important and nice to have.
He also takes up the gamble on that big 20 and finds out that there was some cash in Kakariko Well that he got 40 minutes ago. Also, yes, good point brought up by Chad. You can't attack with Cape in Swordless because you'd have to menu off of Cape to get to an attack. So it can still help you with dodging, but not so much with the killing. So we're headed over to the big chest here in Desert now. prieR is heading to save the old man. He did not do this his first time up Death Mountain.
Nope, he's got the lamp now, so it's a little bit easier to navigate through here. Not that either of our runners really need a lot of help getting through this dark room. It's pretty simple. It's one of the first ones that you'll learn to do as a Link to the Past randomizer runner.
And go ahead and head to the back and go to take on Landmolus. It will be a hammer Landmolus fight. prieR, what? But okay, you realized that he was about to walk the old man all the way back up the mountain when he had a mirror portal right there to walk him home like normal. But yeah, we are going to have a hammer Landmolus, which is not the easiest fight in the world. The Lambos still take a decent amount of hits with it, and it's not the easiest thing to hit them without getting hit. But we'll see how he does on it.
Well, prieR's going back up the mountain here. Gonna go back to the Dark World. Is he thinking going to... Yeah, he's thinking going to Spike Cave.
Yep, I like it. With getting pretty much everything else out of the way on Death Mountain already, might as well get this out of the way while you're here. As mentioned before, in rooms where it's logically required, Burna acts normally, so drains normal amount of magic and gives invincibility.
And unfortunately, just a 5 rupee over there. Getting the map, and more importantly, one of the 5-6 crystals on Zazaz's side.
Yeah, and that was a fantastic Landmolus fight.
Yes, indeed. Very well done. Especially using that hammer. It's a lot more difficult. You gotta get a lot closer. And it's just such a smaller hitbox. It's a fun fight to do, but it's not an easy fight.
I'm curious where he's headed to next. He has gone back to East Death Mountain. He might be making a T-Rock play as well. Sazaz heading back to the Light World over here. We'll see where he heads. I would guess probably Sahasrara Eastern Palace.
I think so, yeah. That sounds about right.
I don't know if you just heard the sound effect of that mirror portal, but it sounded a little bit weird, and it was fantastic.
Weird things are great in this game. It's so much fun because the game does every once in a while do some kind of funky things with the sound. Especially if you do 2 things at once. The game doesn't like if you do 2 things at once, and that's really what makes a lot of the glitches here work. As we're going to see, Dig Spot is a heart, so that will certainly be welcome.
It really dislikes if you do 3 things at once. If you ever want to have some fun, and chat, do not do this in anything that you care about continuing. Try to do an item dash while you're standing in front of a sign, while you have the mirror out in the Dark World. If you use the mirror and press A to read the sign, and, you know, try to start a dash all at the same time, The game really doesn't like that one.
Well, that's like 4 things at the same time almost.
It's one of those things that's interesting to see once, and then you're like, okay, I get what this does. I'm never doing this again.
So actually a little bit of a difference here. We're seeing Azaz go talk to Uncle, and prieR is going back through Turtle Rock, going to complete that reverse sweep.
Yep, I do like this route a little bit more. If you're going to come in here, you might as well get everything that you have access to. Whereas Asazas just got kind of the end chest and left the whole middle open. prieR's going to get everything he can in here.
Yeah, we're missing 2 items still anyways. We're missing the bow and the fire rod. Those are going to be needed to get into go mode here, because we need to be able to get to Mothula, and we need to be able to have the bow not only for Ganon, but to get into the back of Pod, and makes Eastern Palace a heck of a lot easier.
Get another heart container in escape. Asazas is just rolling in health now. You know, like 20 minutes ago he was sitting, or 30 minutes ago he was at 4 hearts. Now he's at 10.
And there's only 14 here, so he's pretty close to getting capped out. But still, 10 hearts is very, very nice to have. It's a lot more comfort here. Actually, not 11. So 11 hearts, even better.
So escape is really just the land of love today, with all the heart pieces and containers and everything. prieR remembering that this is not the way he wanted to go through there, but he now has a mirror point if he finds the big key to come back and check the big chest nice and quick.
Oh, there's the second shield upgrade. Actually, the first upgrade, the second shield, the fire shield now. And Zaz can go back and check the one, I believe the one remaining chest that we haven't seen, which is kind of in between everything here in the sewers.
An interesting note about going through T-Rock backwards and inverted. You actually, oh my god, was that the fire rod or the ice rod? I couldn't
tell you. I thought it might have been the ice rod, but I wasn't 100% sure. It looked a little more blue to me. But it was definitely a rod there in that middle chest.
That was the fire rod. I just caught it on the restream. So that is a very important item.
Oh, and Azaz has not been back to TR. Dipped out. That's in the in-between area that Azaz has not done in Turtle Rock. And the other problem is there's 2 chests in front. Those are fire rod locked. So that's one of the only locations that the fire rod could be inside TR.
Yep, if anything, Asazas is going to be waiting to find the fire rod to come back to T-Rock, and that's never going to happen.
That would be awful, especially considering how well Azaz has played this so far. Just with routing choices, with dungeon fights, it's been a very solid run so far from Azaz. You just don't want to see it come down to that. I mean, that's part of the game, you know. It's part of the strategy and everything that, you know, prieR going back and doing that could ultimately pull them back into the race here, while Azaz might be tearing up the rest of everywhere looking for the fire rod.
And one thing that I was starting to say before that fire rod appeared, in T-Rock and Inverted, if you're going through backwards, you actually need 1 less key to clear the dungeon. So prieR also, I want to give a shout out for making use of that knowledge. He didn't bother killing the Pokey next to the vanilla big key chest for the key, because he didn't need it. He didn't need that key for anything, so why bother killing it?
If the bow is up here, now there's a big key. And rupees. Now imagine if that's right, he's in. Oh, I wonder if that's why he went back. He wouldn't have to do that, but I kind of wonder if he went back out to reset that, just to make sure that, you know, hey, I'm gonna spawn right here. Hank, we got a key.
Definitely not worth, but So when we were in Skull Woods earlier, we found the hook shot, but not a second item. If the bow is in the back of Skull Woods, it could be very, very good for prieR and very, very bad for asazas.
Indeed. prieR still got to find those boots. So a bow find here puts us into no mode from either of our runners. And then we got to get a fire rod from Azaz, and the boots are up on Graveyard Ledge, so it's a matter really at that point, if we find our bow, where do we go from there?
Yep, and the Graveyard Ledge is going to be probably as bad of a spot for prieR as that big key chest is going to be for asazas, to be honestly. They're both going to have a bunch of the world open, so it's going to be a race of who gets back to where they need to be first, and that could be an interesting comparison.
There's one of our little troll hints there in Eastern Palace, the Eurythmics lyric there.
You're entering into the back of Skull Woods. Asazas doing these dark rooms here in Eastern. He'll be coming up to the last chest he has access to, assuming it's anything but the bow. If it's the bow, he can continue on, but...
Yeah, of course, if he finds the bow here, the only item left in the dungeon is going to be potentially on the Armor Knights. So he would just go back to the back anyways. It's the map, so... Nope, save and quit.
prieR killing the Gibdos with the hammer, not a fun thing to do. They take a few hits apiece to hammer level damage, but doing it so you can conserve some magic and not have to worry about them tracking him down.
Of course, since it's swordless, the vines are already pre-cut because otherwise we would not be able to get back there without a sword. And there's that wall master dropping down, always waiting for that to happen, and it's Mothula time. Oh boy, this fight swordless.
Yeah, hammer does a decent amount of damage.
Lots and lots of damage. Teeny hitbox. But it makes it work.
Yep, very well done. And we're about to see a much easier blind fight than prieR had earlier going on the Sazaz side, using that Cane of Samaria to his advantage.
Absolutely. I did mention a little bit earlier that the Cane of Samaria would make this fight a lot easier for Zaz. So will the blue mail and the extra health. That's going to help out a lot too. So I would imagine we will see...
fire shield coming in handy too.
And a fire shield, yeah. So that's... Azaz should have no problem finishing this up. And I say that now, and he's at 2 hearts. Alright, 2 hearts. Zaz, please. 1 heart. Zaz, please. Okay, he's got blue. He's having to use a blue potion. Wow. Maybe a little bit tougher than expected. But he gets that last hit in, and boom.
And as prieR gets 10 arrows in that last item of Skull Woods, Azaz gets 10 arrows as the last item in Thieves Town. Hooray! Arrows for everyone. prieR making his play over to Eastern Palace, not going to find anything there, and Asaz's going to, dip another pendant in the form of Misery Mire. He doesn't have a whole lot of options left, so this makes a lot of sense in terms of what to do.
Absolutely. So what do we have left? Oh, that's right. Do we get the bird toss? Zaz, are you going to do it? Very important. This is super important. Are we going to see the... Nope. We're just going to do the bird ignore. But probably the best for the speedrun sake of it. Making his way down to the inside of Misery Mire here. Does have everything needed to complete the dungeon. Question is, where do we find that bow?
And also,
running out of places.
how long can Mire 2 take? This room is awful without a sword or the fire rod. So, worst case scenario for asazas, what do you think?
Finding the bow and just making the guess that fire rod somewhere else, not going back up to Turtle Rock for a while.
See, I would think that maybe the worst case scenario for him is not finding the bow, because it's locked in Ice Palace. That way there, he's gonna be stuck for a long time not finding progression, and the longer you go, the worse it feels.
Now, the worst thing for Azaz would be to just kind of accidentally make the mental mistake of thinking that you've cleared out Turtle Rock and forgetting about those chests, which is entirely possible. You've done most of the dungeon, so it's possible you might remember you still have some chests there in the middle. It's possible you may also, as a runner, kind of forget about that because you've already dipped into both ends of it. So it just kind of mentally check that off your mind and put it away for later. And sometimes other things kind of override it, and you realize like really late, like, oh yeah, I never did this, and you go there and there's your item. You're like, oh man, I could have had this 20 minutes ago.
Yep, it's that's the thing that I did during this very tournament, so I know that feeling. But in this case, I'm guessing he's aware that that chest is still there, but he also knows that, hey, I left like one chest behind. What are the odds that it's important? Which is the question we all always regret asking.
It's a question that if you have to ask, I feel like with Rando, then it's probably the one thing you're looking for, and you've probably just shot yourself in the foot by skipping it.
Pretty much. And we don't find a second item in Meyer, so he's going to be going back to the back and trying to kill Vitreous with nothing but a hammer to do damage. Well, I take that back. He's got bombs, but he's only got 10 of them, and 10 bombs isn't going to get you very far.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a hassle here. Of course, we don't have swords, so we can't do the keep dash strats to worry about that. We don't have the bow. Just have our trusty hammer, some bombs, and a whole lot of hope and skill.
Okay, so this is an interesting play from prieR. Earlier, they both kind of avoided sequence breaking in Pond. Now, he did the U room, but he never touched the dark maze. So he's going back in here for the 2 chests in the dark, which could be the bow.
Absolutely could be the bow.
Don't remember the exact key layout, but I know the back wasn't bow locked when they were here.
Balls with the chickens. No, that's that's not very useful. There's a map. Oh, it's a heart piece, so it's not the bow.
That is actually the second item, so that's good for him. It means he's not going to go do that Vitreous fight. And prieR nabs another 20 out of the bottom chest of Dark Maze, and asazas being back on Death Mountain makes me think one place he might be going.
Yeah, I think he's going to be going to the Spike Cave, and we'll be unfortunately finding just 5 rupees there.
Yeah, it's unfortunately for him not the place I thought he was going to be going.
So, to make this an even meaner seed, we need Ice Rod, beat Trinax to get Green Pendant to get the bow from Sahasrahla. That would be just like one of the meanest things I could possibly think still is in logic. Or even worse, Sahasrahla has the powder, and then the powder bat has the bow.
That would definitely be very cruel, and good. Asazas going back up Death Mountain. This is pretty certain to be Mimic Cave and the rest of T-Rock.
Right, so that will be very good, and we'll put Azaza one item away from go mode, if that is indeed the case here. And we know that pedestal is going to be some couch cash, so we know that it's not there.
And prior to taking care of the castle, it'll be interesting to see. He might just go through all of Escape and come out the other end of the Sanctuary. I forget where the key was at, if he's going to be able to get it or not.
But there is one other dungeon that's kind of just hanging out there, waiting for someone to poke into it. And perhaps we might see that here after Azaz picks up the fire rod, is to go into Ice Palace.
Yeah, I think at this point that is the most likely.
Oh no,
place.
maybe it's it. Oh no, he got the bow, but he saved and quitted. So we're in no mode. Bow's in Mimic Cave.
So Mimic Cave, on the bright side for Asazas here, Mimic Cave is a place that prieR is not going to go back to for a very long time. So, like, prieR may very well go right into Ice Palace with that fire rod after he's done an escape here and waste some time in there. They both kind of put themselves in a position where what they still need is in terrible spots to go.
Right, so the good thing for Zaz is finding that bow and leaving it to be fire rod means that unless we find bombos floating out somewhere in the ether here in Hyrule, then we're not going to see Zaz go in Ice Palace looking for anything, because there is nothing in there for him.
Yep, and if he was thinking that general area at the time beforehand, the bow doesn't unlock a whole lot. He's going to get these 2 crystals, and then he's going to be right back where he was.
Right. Because all that's going to be left is Mire, but we know both items are there, so we know that's not a possibility. Ice Palace, which we won't have access to, and Turtle Rock, which is exactly where we need to be.
In before Bombos on Armos Nights. I can see it now. He gets that Bombos medallion, he dives Ice Palace, prieR dives Ice Palace with his fire rod, and everyone is sad in the end.
Yep. Everyone's just like, disappointment.
Also worth noting for those watching, if you are unfamiliar with hard mode, silvers only work on the Ganon fight, so despite having silvers, which makes swordless much easier, they can't use them yet. Oh, prieR's going toward his boots.
Indeed, and also worth mentioning, just as a reminder, we were talking about this pregame, but these 2 runners are right now 1 game apart, and if Azaz pulls this off and wins, they will be tied with 2 games to go.
Yep, and given that this is their game 3, that would also mean that it's all down to how they play their other remaining opponents, which is always an interesting way for things to end up. Boots were right there, Ak. Right there. So a nice Armos quick kill by Asazas. He gets the Eastern Palace Crystal, which does open up Pyramid Fairy for him, which he'll probably waste some time doing.
So by the way, I just worth mentioning, you know who they have a common opponent left to play. By the way, I should mention that. It's ACMLM. Both games. So this could be a very, very important game for both of them.
Beat ACMLM or tiebreaker. I don't know if I want to be in that situation. Mine is pretty much work. So yeah, prieR got his boots now. Now he just needs the bow, much like asazas just needs the fire rod. And both of them have to climb up, back up the mountain to the T-Rock area for one little chest they left behind. Oh no.
Oh no.
Of all the things that could have been there, why? I take some responsibility for that.
That was like the one thing he didn't want to see was access to Ice Palace. With the idea that, you know, Fire Rod and Ice Palace is absolutely not an uncommon thing to see in Seeds, so we could see an Ice Palace dive here.
Absolutely could on both runners' fronts. In fact, could even be what prieR is intending to do here next. I don't think so, since it looks like he's going to the light world, but yeah, Ice Palace is 3 items alongside 3 hint tiles, so you're definitely going there before you go back for that one location in T-Rock.
Yep, so for those wondering here, just to recap, we're in no mode, and we know where the items are. Our runners don't. Extra prieR is gonna go and probably do, looks like maybe Misery Mire clear of those items, and then just do Desert Palace as well. Not a bad play.
Yeah, definitely a solid idea to get Desert out of the way.
But just to recap here very quickly, Fire Rod is in the lava chest in Turtle Rock, which Zaz has gone ahead and cleared out the chest on either side of that. And while prieR is looking for the bow, which is in Mimic Cave, so both Go Mode items are within the East Death Mountain area, on one in Light World, one in Dark World. And our runners have already kind of both been up there. So yeah, we might see some unnecessary Ice Palace plays from everybody in the near future here.
Nothing better than watching both runners go into Ice Palace for no reason. But that is kind of worth noting that Inverted, one of the most annoying locations to try to route, as I mentioned earlier, is East Death Mountain. There's so many times you have to go up and down the mountain if you want to get everything thoroughly checked, and it's easy to leave something behind and say, you know, it's just not worth the extra trip.
Yeah, I think maybe just prieR was, we did see prieR actually go, oh, that's right. They already checked they checked the big chest when they got that big key. And they saved and quitted after that, forgot to go check the Mimic Cave.
Well, he had no easy way to get back out to check Mimic Cave, since he would have had to walk all the way back to the front of the dungeon, or to the back of the dungeon, and go out the door.
No. I think I remember right. prieR mirrored back from the right side torch room to go open the big chest.
He did, but his mirror portal was at the laser bridge door.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right. So he would have had to walk all the way around kind of to do that.
Got a Helmosaur fight. First phase, no different than having a sword pretty much. Second phase, we'll probably see some bow strats. It's a little bit easier than solo hammer. He's trying for those hammer strats.
Now switching up to the bow here. So yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind too. Even with the bow, the Vidi fight is not gonna. You're gonna have to use regular arrows because silver arrows only work on cannon in hard mode.
So that is crystal number 5 for asazas. He will be heading onward from here, probably to go... Or wait, he cleared out Easton as well already. He has 6 crystal. And prior was a much easier Lammolas fight, having this Fire Rod, and here we go. Here's the Ice Palace play.
Oh, it's just... And of course, Ice Palace in this mode is open from the get-go. Don't have to worry about going through from the Dark World. And hey, look! There's our Bombos Medallion and our hint.
And of course, for us watching who know where these items are, this is really disappointing to watch. But for these runners, it's a very good play to come in here.
I do love that hint. Some bombs require a bomb. Gosh, it's like half the locations in this game are like some bombs require a bomb.
Just one step below some bombs, and some bombs require a big red bomb. So our first chest in Ice Palace is 20 bucks. The thing we can hope for is that all 3 items drop early, because they both know pedestal isn't required, so if they get all 3 items, they will leave. They won't bother with Colts there unless he has an item.
Yeah. I would have found it funny if somehow that hint was like the Fire Rod. Fire Rod is back up on Death Mountain. Silly. Go up there.
There's definitely a possibility of a hint helping one of these 2 runners. prieR's got the better odds of that, since Mimic Cave is one of the bad locations that are a higher chance of having a hint.
Unique items above the pose. Of course, we know that. It's going to be the boots. There's our pose hint. Our Graveyard Ledge hit.
Yep, it's our guaranteed boots hint. It is the one thing that you will always have a hint for somewhere in the game, which is sometimes very nice because, hey, earlier boots. Sometimes you get that hint in your 7th crystal and you're just like, really?
So I guess my thought is if you're Azaz and you go through Ice Palace, you get the 3 items, and you check out, and you realize that it's not, the Fire Rod's not in here. Do you decide all of a sudden that, okay, I need to go back up to Turtle Rock and check the remaining chests right now? Because you're kind of out of...
Unlikely.
I was gonna say you're kind of out of locations at this point.
Like, next he's going to do the Pyramid Fairy. There's item number 2. It's 5 bucks, so he's got 1 item left in here. But yeah, next he's definitely going to do Pyramid Fairy, but they've checked most everything else. Kind of quickly looking over a location map to see if there's anything that I don't remember us seeing on either side of these runner screens, and there's really not.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, we're kind of running low on possible locations that we can still check and find items at this point. So you would think that as it kind of dwindles down here, that our runners are kind of forced to go to the locations that these items are at.
And prior going through Meyer now, we know he's going to get both items without having to fight the boss, and then he's going to leave. And then he'll probably be heading for his Ice Palace dip shortly thereafter.
That's a Paradox Cave hint, so that won't help.
Yep, so on the bright side, for either of these runners, the other one does not get a hint in Ice Palace telling them where to go. If it makes them fight Colts there for the 3rd item, that is just too mean. It's the big key. 2 more chests available, and then it is down to the boss. The map there. He's going to head to the big chest and hope and hope and hope that he doesn't have to fight Cold Stare with hammer and no fire rod. And here we go. prieR heading into Ice Palace as well. We knew it was coming. There was virtually no way he wasn't going to make this play.
Yeah, pretty much at this point. It's just kind of a race to see who gets that item first and who decides to. Okay, so yeah, there's the third item. So Zaz is gonna know that it's not in here. So I think it's gonna have to be the realization that I gotta go back to TR.
Hopefully so. And in prieR's mind, I'm sure Mimic Cave is sitting on the back of his mind right now. Just like, it can't be Mimic Cave, right? It can't be that. Like, this seed could have been definitely a jet seed by just being thorough on East Death Mountain, because Asazas, his first time up there, would have found everything he needed for Go mode practically just by being thorough while he was up there.
Yep, Azaz is going to take that big red bomb over to the Pyramid Fairy. And we'll see what's in there. Actually, we know what's in there. It's not a whole lot, I think.
Come on, Powder, and that's the only fetch quest left. Come on, Powder. There's not a whole lot that can lead him astray, but...
Quake and some bombs.
Hey, we got the third medallion when only one of them was needed for anything on the sea.
Indeed. And Furious asking, did they ever check Shovel? Yeah, we checked Shovel and it was a heart container. So it's very useful. I was asked to check it earlier.
Oh, he's doing it. He's doing it. He's going the right direction. He has to keep going to T-Rock,
Yeah,
and
just needs to keep going in this direction, and he'll have everything he's looking for, and probably will be somewhat happy. We'll see a lot of happy slashes, even though we don't have the sword. We'll still see some happy slashes or happy hammer swings, maybe.
I think he's going to feel too behind to take any time for that. That said, I think prieR is just about as low on location, so he's probably going to be heading up this way as well once he's done in Ice Palace. Also, it's really bugging me how many times Asazas has left that bug net sitting there.
Indeed, are seeing the rear entrance here for the front half of Turtle Rock. So he's on the right trail. And all he's got to do is walk through that door and then walk through a couple other doors. He's close. His eyes are close.
He's doing the same thing that prieR did, killing these Pokies for no apparent reason. You get so used to the normal modes of this game where you have to kill these Pokies to move forward that sometimes you just kill them because you forget that you don't have to.
You just kind of get hardwired that, yeah, you get to kill them, so you might as well do the thing. And the door's open and you're just like, oh, yeah, I wanted to go up.
Yep, you could kind of see it on his reaction. He started moving right, and he's like, wait a second. So
maybe it's just a situation where they were like, you know what, I've already killed enough of this. I'm just gonna finish it. I'm not gonna leave it like 90% done.
It could be, and this is go mode coming up for asazas, who has at this point a quite sizable lead.
Absolutely. At 1 hour, 44 minutes, and roughly, it looks like 39, 40 seconds, Azaz in go mode with one dungeon left to complete. It's Skull Woods, so not going to be a very long dungeon here. It just has to go to the back and kill Mothula.
Yep, and on prieR's side, he's likely going to get to Mimic Cave soon. But once he does, he's going to have Eastern Palace and Pod. He's already got the big keys of both, so it's not going to take too long, but there is a sizable time difference between the two right now.
Absolutely. This is going to be a very, I won't say very fast, but it'll click a quick clear. That's a tongue twister for Azaz, and prieR's got a little bit more time to spend here. Going to cold stare?
Did he skip a chest and just gamble on cold stare having it?
I think so, but yeah, really good for Azaz right now, just to have this one dungeon left. And yeah, this is not going to be too long at all to clear.
Now, it is worth noting... oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and truthfully, prieR doesn't have a whole lot longer to being up to GT as well, but just having to go through 2 dungeons now instead of 1 is going to be a little bit longer. And prieR actually heading back up as well. Maybe he's going to Mimic Cave.
Yeah, that's the only thing he's got left up here, so it looks like we got a race on our hands. Now again, asazas has a pretty solid time advantage on prieR. That being said, this is swordless mode. The gauntlet is not fun without a sword. If you've never done the gauntlet without a sword, it's very, very tough. So, there's no guarantees here. You can easily screw up your execution on the gauntlet in GT somewhere. On Agate 2 without the bug net, which is a gamble that asazas is making, there are a lot of ways for this race to balance itself back out or let prieR pull ahead.
Absolutely. It could even be something as simple as having some trouble going up gauntlet, plus maybe just we haven't really seen a bad routing decision from Azaz so far this seed. But going the wrong way, looking for the GT big key, if it's on right side, prieR picks right side, does the full clear, and it's over there, and Azaz goes left side and it's not there. That could absolutely be the thing. And there, prieR in go mode, about 3 minutes behind go mode, plus going to have to complete extra dungeon.
Yep, now Ganon's Tower in Inverted is moved to Hyrule Castle, so asazas is going to flute to 4, go down into the Light World, and just run up to the tower pretty quickly. They'll be there and underway before prieR gets done with Easter.
But we do have a game to play, though, I think. If I remember right.
And that is true.
So, for those of you wondering, GT has itself a big key inside of it, and there are 22 wonderful locations, 1 on a torch, 21 chests. So you get your guesses in there. First, the closest guess from a sub or supporter wins a shout out and a spot on the leaderboard. And to be a supporter, you need to be a subscriber to any channel or to have cheered 250 total bits. So, Mentos, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna guess 21, just because I want to see it happen late for asazas and early for prieR, so this race comes down to the wire.
That would be pretty cool. I'm gonna go back to guessing 12. I've been guessing later and later in each of my runs, and I'm finding out that it's not really helping. So 12 is my lucky number. I'm gonna go back to that, and we'll just kind of spray and pray.
And now in the basement, going ahead and stopping the game.
Found the magic powder.
Yay, we can get like a couple hearts refilled on the way up to Aghanim with that. Hooray!
And there's number 3. Also, shout outs to Dr. Luau. Thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription. Much appreciated. Please enjoy those wonderful new emotes.
Bob gets to live with the 5 rupees on the torch. Not going to pick those up. Four and 5, both keys, but not the right size keys.
So we're at number 7 right now. So for those of you that guessed 1 through 7, I'm sorry, but your key is in another castle.
Yep, and out of 4 chests in the Salvos room, there were 3 keys. That is too many small keys.
Number 8, double fire bar. Not really a common place for that to happen, but still, I've seen it happen there. Not today, though.
And the boomerang hitting its long-awaited moment of glory. The one time anyone ever uses the boomerang.
And boomerang was never heard from again.
prieR done with Armos Knights, mirroring back to Dark World for Pod as we get to chest 9, which is 3 bombs.
And we now approach Rando Room, which is so called because you pretty much never see it outside of Randomizer. These 4 chests in the vanilla game have a nice little bit of stuff, but nothing really important. Of course, in Rando, it's different. There's 10, 11. There's Ice Rod. 12. Oh, I'm wrong. 13. Oh, nothing in here. So we're up through 13.
But we did get that Ice Rod. Maybe we should go, act like it's Key Sanity and kill Trinex for the GT Big Key on Green Pendant.
Correct answer is 23. 23, it's on Trinex. You have to go back out now. As you mentioned, Mentos, not Key Sanity, so we don't have to do such crazy things.
Now, you could think, maybe you can make the gauntlet a little bit easier when you get to it by using that Bombos or Ether medallion, but nope, you can't use medallions unless there's a tile on the floor saying you can.
Or you're at one of the tablets as well. It'll let you use that without a sword. But you have to have the book for that too, so that's kind of a very specific place that you can use them in swordless mode. And Bob teleports across the room. Magic trick.
There's a map on 14, I believe it is.
Yes. These are 15, 16, 17, and then the last 5 are going to be on the right side. If it's 18, I'm going to be very sad because that's the number I was guessing up until today.
Nice, clean Armos 2 from asazas.
15, no. 16, yes. It is indeed in the vanilla room.
Yep, so we can head upstairs now, and routing isn't really going to be a factor in this big key. If you do Dark Magician, you would get there a little bit quicker, but not by enough to really make a difference.
Absolutely. And of course, bow not only needed for Palace of Darkness, but also needed for these rooms because you can't bottle glitch your way out of those enemy kill rooms there. Also, our correct answer is 16. Closest was 17 from prieR Stake 1. So congrats, prieR.
You win, making me hungry with your username. Congratulations.
Well, that is prieR picking up the last of the crystals. So they too will be joining us here in GT.
Yep, so as mentioned before, it's a sizable time difference. He's going to be entering into the tower while asazas will, if all goes smoothly, be near the top. But there's no guarantee all is going to go smoothly.
And of course, Azaz is now in the gauntlet section here. Some of these most most difficult rooms in the game, regardless of how much gear you have. In fact, the less gear you have, the harder it becomes.
He's handling them pretty well so far. This room and the ice floor rooms are really the annoying ones. This one, because those Zazacs can do something you never can and walk directly between those spikes.
And also the conveyor belts will kind of throw them around the room a little bit quicker too. Oh yeah, and there's rotating BMOS showing up. So it's like, yeah, all the things you dislike about this game in one convenient place, and very nicely done there by Zaz, getting through that first part of Gauntlet without much difficulty. That was very nicely done.
Yeah, that last room was wonderful. I'm real glad he missed his initial arrow shot to set up that really clean finish. Gets 2 of the Lambos down with the fire rod, decides he needs to save magic, and switches to hammer for number 3.
So maybe the good thing here for Zaz is that a lot of these rooms are coming up you don't really need the sword for. You're going to be using things like Candace Samaria to go through the most satisfying room in the game, part 1 and part 2. Here's part 1. Boom.
Yep, very straightforward, doesn't change no matter what mode you're in, except Randomizer. Of course, the biggest difference here at the end of the game in terms of equipment is the bug net. It's an item that is usually useless, but in Swordless, having to do Aghanim 2 without it is a pain, and I'm still very confused by Asazas not taking the, 3 seconds to pick it up.
Yeah, shoutouts to those enemy stun strats, though, using the hook shot to stun the enemies and then just walking right through them. That's a nice little tech to always see.
And using the lamp here to conserve magic, make very sure he doesn't have to worry about picking any up before going upstairs.
And Zaz does have enough keys, won't have to fish around for any more. Gonna throw this bomb here. And we're just wandering away from Boldorm 2.
And the only 2 things he could really even hope to find, the bug net and the cape, he knows where both of them are, so no reason to open a single other chest at this point.
Other than chat will grumble if you don't open this last one. But hey, you gotta go fast, right? You don't always have time to check things when you're going fast.
Exactly. Chat less important than the race that helps decide the fate of your future in the groups.
Indeed, the memes are less important than the dreams.
Here we go to the hardest, well, not the hardest thing. Ganon is a little bit harder, but this is going to be a stupidly hard fight, and I'm curious to see how comfortable Asazas is that he was willing to skip that bug net.
Maybe he just feels confident with the hammer that he can do it. So we'll see here. He doesn't have a choice.
While Elm accidentally bombing the floor by Bob's chest before opening the chest.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of difficulty. Yeah, okay, he's got 1 now. There we go, first one. So 001. 1.
Still needs 4 more hits.
Uh-oh. prieR's gonna have... This is gonna be interesting. prieR having to switch to hammer doesn't have enough arrows to finish off the Urmos fight here.
Now, as much as the magic usage kind of sucks, the Cane of Brine and the Fire Rod are both, even in hard work, Brine doesn't give you invincibility, they're both a little bit easier weapons to deal with this fight with.
Okay, he's on to the last one. And that's 1 heart. Oh, goodness, that could have been bad.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you don't skip the bug net in Swordless, the Madman.
He does not have a fairy. He might have a potion. I don't know if he's got a potion stored somewhere in there, but he does not have a fairy. That much I know for certain. Because you don't have fairies in hard mode.
So if I had to guess, he's going to drop in and immediately give Ganon a hug.
Okay, he's got a potion. Alright, yeah.
Okay, that works too. I would have just dropped in, given Ganon a hug, respawn right on top of the castle. Gets you your health back nice and quick, and you gotta save the potion for later.
We've had to do a lot of thinking outside the box for this seed, so I don't know what Ganon's talking about.
Very true, and the hammer doing the same amount of damage as a tempered sword swing means 12 hits for phase 1, 12 for phase 2, 4 for phase 3, and 4 silver arrows for phase 4. But the hammer hitbox does not make that easy. Perfect spot, though.
Yeah, he's got 12 in, so he should be on phase 3 now. But he's got to be careful with his health. Oh, he's got another potion. Oh, wow, he stuck. The chops were kind on that end. That was a really good positioning, too. He was up in that corner and just doing a very good job of timing those hammer hits out.
Yep, and now just waiting for the teleport phase where, you know, Ganon can teleport somewhere between at least 1 and 40 times before you're able to hit him. I want to say 39 is the highest that anyone has seen.
Did you find arrows in Dark World? Yes! We sure did. Not setting up Torch Glitch this time, so it can just go. Very nice.
Yeah, with Silver's Torch Glitch not super important.
Yeah, very nicely done here. He's got one more hit to go. He should have this. Oh, actually dodged a fire bat, and there we go. About to see GG here, as long as it doesn't fall through the floor.
Yep, and this should mean that prieR and asazas will be moving into a tie in their group, with 2 races apiece remaining.
And they both have 2 races apiece left, and they're both against ACMLM. So, oh boy, you know, if you don't want to go to a tiebreaker at this point against a 10-0 runner, you got to pull off a heck of a run.
And we will get the official SRL time of 2:01:59 from asazas, finishing in first place.
Absolutely. Get those GGs in chat. This was a very, very good seed. It's going to look a little bit more of a dominating win for Azaz, I think, probably than it was. But it was definitely close throughout. Of course, prieR now in GT going up Gauntlet, so not going to be too far behind on the finish.
And I mean, honestly, the time difference here is probably about the amount of time that prieR spent on that blind fight early on. So yeah, that kind of came back and bit him.
I was wondering if that was going to be the case, and certainly looks like that was. So we saw his ass kind of dip out, and then prieR went and kept doing the fight. So, you know, ultimately, all those deaths did kind of eventually pile up and lead to Zaz getting a big enough of a gap here to make it all the way to the end. And we will get Zaz and here for a post-game interview in just a moment. I believe right now we are joined by Azaz Saz. GG, congratulations on your win.
Thank you, GG. Yeah, this was certainly something.
Yeah, how do you like that all those items you needed for Go mode when you went up to Death Mountain were all on Death Mountain, just really inconvenient to get all?
Yeah, I thought I had lost the game by then for sure, because I mean I basically made like 5 trips getting one thing at a time. But I mean, in inverted it is quite difficult to efficiently route that part, I think. Or at least difficult for me, because I played this like a couple times only.
Yeah, I pointed that out during the race, that it's real pain throughout up there. You went up there a couple times. Your last thing was the Fire Rod in T-Rock. prieR went up there several times as well. His last thing was the Bow and Mimic Cave. So you both kind of had the same area, but different exact locations eating at you.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, essentially the same problem, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So other than some of those late game checks that we saw where you dipped in ice palace and whatnot, did you have a certain strategy that you were thinking of with this being swordless, as far as swordless and inverted, with what you were going to check early? Were you going to spend more time checking overworld locations, going through dungeons? Was there any strategy involved with that? It was just kind of following the breadcrumbs kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I tried to prioritize the stuff that was less likely to kill me. Absolutely. Yeah, luckily, for example, the Moonper was at Catfish and not at Blind. I mean, that would have been horrendous.
So I gotta ask you, you walk by the bug net on the floating island like 5 times. Why did you never pick it up, you crazy, crazy man?
I mean, why would I? Can you catch fairies with the bug net in hard mode?
No, Aga 2 is just much easier with the bug net than the hammer.
Wow, I didn't even think of that.
That makes sense.
I just thought it was completely useless, but yeah, I mean, you are absolutely right. Well, didn't even think of that. That maybe could have saved me some trouble, because that was not a beautiful fight per se.
No, but we were watching you, and we were kind of worried for a moment. You dropped down to 1 heart, and you got that last hit, and I was like, okay, you made it through without dying, because at that point, I don't know if you caught up on the restream yet, Zaz, but at that point, prieR had already gone into GT, so there was a possibility that if you had died at Aga 2 and had to go all the way back up the tower again, that it would have been a lot closer than ultimately this was going to be.
Yeah, I had a bunch of blues though, so I at least I knew I had that insurance.
And so, by the way, this win will, with 2 games to go, both against ACMLM, this win's going to put you in a tie with prieR for that second spot. So, congratulations on that. You guys maybe depending on how these last 2 games go for both of you, you may be playing one more time against each other. So, I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, we'll see. At least I am glad I could save this first match ball, because if I lost here, then the group would be over, I think.
Yeah, it'd just be very hard at that point. You would, being 2 games behind with 2 games to go, you kind of have to win both of them, and nobody's beaten ACMLM in this tournament so far. So that beating them once is probably gonna be pretty tough, and then the second time in a row is gonna be even tougher. So it's very much a situation now where everything is kind of in everyone's hands, but yeah, could very well see a game 4 between prieR and Zaz here coming up in the not too distant future.
Yeah, a win from either of us versus ACM though would be absolutely huge. So I mean, I guess we'll have to pay attention to each other's games, because yeah, those are going to be important.
Absolutely, and it's just beating a talented runner like ACMLM, someone who's very well known within the community. That's always a big deal, no matter who you are. But prieR right now taking on Ganon into phase 3. Yep, but yeah, it's coming down to the wire here in this group, and it's getting very exciting. We always like to see exciting races like this, where you have two very talented runners that are doing the best that they can and putting on a really good show. So I know chat was very much enjoying this, and we were enjoying this very much as well, watching you guys kind of do your thing, especially with something like this. Swordless hard mode inverted is not easy whatsoever.
I did want to ask, how do you feel finding 4 green 20s signifying swords within the first like 30 minutes of the seed?
Yeah, that was just taunting us, I guess. Like, you could have a slashy thing, but you don't. You stick with the hammer, which has like a fourth of the hit. Just deal with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I felt like that was the thing that we saw a lot of this seed, was a lot of the game kind of taunting you, being like, oh yeah, let's go do Dark World blind fight with 3 hearts green mail, and you have to do it with the hammer, so yay.
Yeah, at least the game was kind enough to give us some hearts sort of quickly, and even the blue mail. I think I got 13 hearts when finishing, which is, I mean, what was the maximum for hat mode? 15?
14. So yeah, you got almost all the hearts. So nicely done there.
Yeah, just missing 4 heart pieces, I guess. I mean, that was sort of generous of the seed, like, and yeah, because this would have been a completely different story if we had to finish with 7 hearts or 8 hearts or something like.
prieR unfortunately taking another death there.
Yeah, not an easy fight. At least I had a kind of favorable spot in phase.
Yeah, that phase 2 was the dream right there. And I do believe that this is probably about the moment when prieR went ahead and forfeited. Having already lost, he decided, why keep fighting Ganon when, you know, I've already lost, it's already over. So he did unfortunately forfeit a few minutes after asazas finished.
Yeah, it comes to the point where maybe you just want to complete it and get it over with, and after that it just kind of becomes, you know, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get ready for whatever your next race is.
And Hammer Ganon is not a fun or easy fight. Well, it's fun in a way, but it's definitely not an easy fight, and when things start going wrong and you're already disappointed you lost, it's very easy for them to continue going wrong.
Yeah, tilt is very much a real thing that you have to deal with sometimes.
I don't know if we will see prieR coming in for an interview or not. We'll see what happens here momentarily. In the meantime, asazas, shoutouts to the little hover over Spectral Rock, or not Spectral Rock, Paradox Cave, just for the sake of doing it. I approve.
I mean, honestly, I am used to set up all the bomb jumps with the sword spin. So, I mean, not having a sword, I was kind of out of my game in terms of bomb jumps. I think there was a higher chance of me missing the bomb jump than just falling with the hop.
That makes sense. Do you know the item dash setup for bomb jump?
The item does show up. I don't think so, although, I mean, now that you mention it, I can imagine how it.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the sword, but you just do an item dash with something like the hammer, and you press away from the hole when you reach it, and it just kind of locks you in place right at the first pixel from the hole.
Oh yeah, okay. Makes sense. It's nice to know it, thank you. mean, I absolutely didn't know that was a thing.
No problem. It's one of many things I learned from old member of the community who's no longer part of the community, Evanitis, who just had all kinds of gifts of every little random trick. It's a little bit of good information, especially for swordless. It does appear like maybe prieR's forfeit was more due to other factors than so much as just not wanting to get it finished up. He's in chat, doesn't appear like he's going to be joining us for an interview verbally, but he has been filling us in a little bit on the situation. So with that, I guess we can start wrapping up here. Do you have any other thoughts, anything like that on the seed, asazas?
Well, I mean, not on the seed. I mean, just give a shout out and a thank you to everyone involved in this restream that made this possible, and hoping it was entertaining to watch. And yeah, thank you for watching.
Thank you guys for putting on a great show. If those of you watching haven't already, drop both of these guys a follow. They are both fantastic at this game. They have been around the community for a long time. If you've been here a while, you've probably seen them do some pretty crazy great things. So definitely worth a follow.
110% agree with that. I've seen both these two run before, and they're very, very, very worth a follow. Very worth your time. Definitely catch their matches. They both have 2 more races to go against ACMLM. It's going to be some very, very good races coming up in this group here, and it's going to go down to the wire to see who gets in as that second seed, I think.
And it's one of the few groups that are going to be very interesting down to the wire, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. It looks like, although it may get rescheduled and is currently not scheduled for a restream, prieR does have one of his matches against ACMLM scheduled already. Sazas, do you have any of yours scheduled yet?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, it is both Saturday and Sunday at 12 p.m. I think 12 p.m. Eastern.
I've got, yeah. I didn't want to steal your thunder, but yeah, 12:30 p.m. on Saturday and on Sunday this week. So we have quite a few matches here, and of course, prieR's got 2 more to play against ACMLM as well. ACM's going to be very busy over this weekend.
And in terms of general races going on, we do have a couple more today scheduled for restreams. There's always a chance more could be added if there are staff for them, so to speak. But right now, in about 2.5 hours, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, there will be a standard swordless hard mode retro seed with a defeat Ganon goal between Aussie 101 and Error, and that'll be on Speed Gaming 4. At 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have an all dungeons standard Uncle Assured hard mode Key Sanity race of Delane versus Argle XD, which will be on ALTTP Randomizer. And then 2 hours after that, at 8:30 p.m., there will be an all dungeons inverted seed with randomized swords normal difficulty between GFE 12 and Pika Pals. That'll be on ALTTP Randomizer 2.
Indeed, and for those wondering what's going on right now, we do have a Super Metroid A Link to the Past Randomizer Winter Tournament match. There's 2 of them actually ongoing today. It looks like we've got Trucker and Cantaloupe Me are on Speed Gaming right now, and they have a second match coming up on Speed Gaming 3 after that's done. The daily race, the Friday daily race open mode, is going to be on Speed Gaming 4 in about 10 minutes. So if you want to watch some more rando, like right now, if you want to go watch some other people do rando, daily race is going to be open at 2 o'clock, Speed Gaming 4. And if you come back here in about an hour, we're going to have a Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons any percent tournament between Dragon C0 and Sagaz is going to be running at 3 o'clock here on Speed Gaming 2. And then after that, we've got Portal. There's a whole bunch of Super Metroid: A Link to the Past randomizer stuff going on tonight. We've got more tournament matches. We got qualifiers for the Super Mario World Winter Tournament. A lot of different things going on right now. A lot of fun things.
It's a good time to be following the Speed Gaming Network because there's a lot of tournaments going on, some just starting up, some that have been going and are reaching some crescendos, such as our own. There's a lot of fun to be watched on here.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think with that, we're gonna get things wrapped up and get out of the way here so that we can get ready for more stuff later today. But as always, I'm Nihon Tiger. Have a good afternoon or good evening. Good luck, good RNG. Remember, someone out there loves you, and we love you here too. So take care of yourselves, one and all.
Quick shout out before I go to Link40, our tracker, who did an excellent job keeping up on everything. It's always the kind of silent hidden job, and it is always appreciated. But
Absolutely.
As Nihon said, take care, everyone. Have a great day and enjoy all the fun stuff going on today.
Indeed. Bye, guys.